President Bongbong Marcos strongly rejects claims that the Philippines is an ISIS training hotspot. Authorities earlier confirmed that the gunman behind the mass shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach had stayed in the Philippines for nearly a month before returning to Australia. In a palace briefing on Wednesday, December 17, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro was asked about Malacanang's response to foreign media reports labeling the Philippines as a training ground for terrorism and a terror hotspot.
Of course, the President strongly rejects the sweeping statement and the misleading characterization of the Philippines as the ISIS training hotspot.
Castro then reads a statement from the National Security Council, which also denounced the accusations.
Currently, there is no validated report or confirmation that the individuals involved in the Bondi Beach incident received any form of training in the Philippines. Philippine authorities, in coordination with international partners, continue to verify all available information, but no evidence has been presented to support claims that the country was used for terrorist training.
Since the Marawi siege in 2017, local security forces have significantly degraded ISIS-affiliated groups in the country. According to the National Security Council, assessments by both the United Nations and the U.S. government indicate that these groups now operate in a fragmented and diminished capacity. The Council also notes that historical clan conflicts largely drive violence in Mindanao and that improvements have already been made through sustained government efforts.
The President orders the Anti-Terrorism Council and member agencies to remain vigilant in preventing any terrorist activity within Philippine territory and to continuously enhance coordination with international partners to safeguard national security.
Meanwhile, Castro urges foreign media using such descriptions to be discerning and responsible in their reporting. She notes that such statements could damage the image and integrity of the Philippines. According to the Bureau of Immigration, the two shooters arrived in the country from Sydney on November 1. The BI said the duo left the country on November 28 on a connecting flight from Davao to Manila, with Sydney as their final destination. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that the two men had likely been radicalized by Islamic State ideology. Australian police reportedly found IS flags in the suspect's vehicle, raising suspicion of their links to the international terrorist group. Malacanang says President Bongbong Marcos does not want a reenacted 2026 national budget. These remarks follow Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson's statement that it will be better to settle on a reenacted budget in January or the first quarter of next year. Lacson said it was better than adopting what he called a corruption-driven or graft-ridden budget. In a palace briefing on Wednesday, December 17, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says there is still enough time to deliberate on the 2026 national budget.
Maganda po ang suwestyon ni Senator Ping Lacson, pero ang nais po talaga ng Pangulo ay hindi magkaroon ng reenacted budget. At hindi pa naman po natatapos ang Disyembre, December 17 pa lang po, at sa tingin po ng Pangulo ay may sapat pang panahon para aralin ito.
Senate Finance Panel Chair Win Gatchalian earlier said that lawmakers from both chambers of Congress are targeting to wrap up the bicameral conference committee meeting by Wednesday. House Appropriations Chairperson Mika Swansing also said that they are very committed and confident about finishing the BICAM on December 17. The BICAM discussions were delayed by concerns over the budget cuts sustained by the Department of Public Works and Highways. The International Criminal Court Appeals Chamber is asking the prosecution and the victims' lawyers to further explain their positions on the issue of jurisdiction in former President Rodrigo Duterte's case. Duterte is facing charges of crimes against humanity of murder before the ICC over his administration's war on drugs. In a 6-page order issued on December 16, the court is directing the deputy prosecutor and the Office of Public Counsel for the victims to file additional observations by January 16. These will be on two issues related to the question of jurisdiction raised by the Duterte camp. The appeals chamber seeks to determine the effect and consequences of specific Rome Statute articles and how these provisions interact with each other on the issue of jurisdiction. The Rome Statute is the 2002 framework that established the ICC. Article 12 states the preconditions to the ICC's exercise of jurisdiction, while Article 13 sets out when the court may exercise jurisdiction. On the other hand, Article 127 outlines the continuing obligation of a state even after leaving the ICC fold. The defense must submit its response to the observations by January 23, which is 5 working days after the deadline set for the other party. The latest court directive on Duterte's case in the ICC is a response to the appeal against the jurisdiction ruling that the defense filed on November 14. The prosecution and the victims' counsel submitted their initial responses on the appeal on December 8. On October 23, the pretrial Chamber 1 affirmed that the ICC has authority to prosecute and hold Duterte in custody. Families of drug war victims welcomed this much-awaited ruling on jurisdiction as it could pave the way for a full-blown trial should pre-trial hearings proceed. They said it could also resolve other issues related to the case. Davao City 1st District Representative Paolo Duterte revised his request for travel authority from an initial 16-country proposed visit to now just covering the Netherlands and Australia. In a statement on Wednesday, December 17, Executive Director Jose Marmoy Salonga says they received Duterte's first request to visit several foreign destinations, to which the chamber replied by seeking more details. Salonga is from the House of Representatives, Office of the Secretary General. Duterte's initial request sought approval for travel from December 15 to February 20, 2026. Salonga says the House also requested a revised submission as the travel will overlap with the session days. The 28th Congress will resume its session by January 26, 2026. According to Salonga, Duterte submitted a revised travel request for the Netherlands and Australia from January 3 to January 30, 2026. The lawmaker cites a visit to his father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, as a reason for travel. Duterte also indicated that all expenses will be covered using personal funds. Salonga says the revised request is currently under evaluation in accordance with House rules and administrative procedures. Duterte's travel authority attracted attention in early December after his office confirmed the veracity of a letter addressed to House Speaker Bondi Beach, although his office insisted that it was supposedly a confidential document leaked by a House office. In the original letter to D, Duterte mentioned his intended trip to several countries including China, Malaysia, Australia, and the Netherlands, among others. ACT Teachers Representative Antonio Tino called out Duterte, saying constituents expect lawmakers to be present during committee hearings and plenary sessions. Tino also quipped whether Duterte was a Miss Universe on tour, citing the number of countries the Davao lawmaker wanted to visit.